So everyone, welcome back to another Lumley trading stream. Thought I'd do a bit of a special one, just because we haven't really done one of these kind of streams in a while, but I know a lot of the audience are ones who focused on the small cap side of things, even though I personally trade mainly large caps. I like to do analysis on small caps because a lot of people are looking at them, especially more people in my audience. But I thought today then I will give you some insight into stocks that could potentially short squeeze, so obviously more the smaller cap stocks where they have a high amount of short float interest and are likely to squeeze. So just give me 1 second while I load up the stream on my phone so I can just see the chat and all of that for anything that's coming through. And let me quickly close that because I need to open up something in the background. There we go. And then I'm all good to go. So there we go. Everything's open. It should all be good. And then we will get started then. So the stock with the highest short float interest as of right now is Icpt. So if we pull this up, and actually what I can do is I can pull up the website I'm looking at on here, so it's clearer for you to see as well. So all we need to do is market watch short interest. And this will give you the stocks with the highest percentage short float interest. I think it's here. Let me just find the exact thing. I should have probably done this. I do have it on my phone, but I thought it would just be easier if you can also see it on screen. But I'm struggling to actually find it on here. I don't know why they're making it so difficult. I'll just do market watch tools short interest because that's what it says. I think that's now found it. Okay, there we go. So now here you can see on screen, these are the stocks with the highest amount of short float interest or short float percentage. So you can see one of the biggest mover, obviously we all know Bed Bath and Beyond. That only has, as of right now, a 40% float. So we do have two stocks that have potentially more squeeze potential. And that is Icpt to start it off. So we will analyze that one first. And you can see, looking at the chart, we have done some sharp, well, it has been quite volatile recently, going from $10 to 21. But I mean, a 100% move on these kind of stocks isn't actually all that crazy. So definitely there is still potential to short squeeze. And if so, what are going to be targets to the upside that we would look at? So we would have $17.50. That would kind of be a key resistance. First deviation on both the 4-hour and the daily, but quite close to where we are now. We'd be focusing more on these high levels, you know, $19 to $19.50. But again, these are still levels we hit quite recently. So really the key focus would be on $23 and $22.50 because these haven't been hit in the most recent move. Last time they were hit was going back to around May time. So if we do start squeezing, these would definitely be some key targets that we'd be paying attention to. Now, if you're looking to buy some of Icpt, just in case we do get that short squeeze and you want to get in advance, where would we be looking at as buy target? So really, anywhere before $14 is somewhat of a good deal. But really, we would want to be focusing more on that 52-week low because obviously it is a high shorted stock, and the reason for that is probably it's fundamentally not that strong. So we could most likely just wait for it to pull back down to its 52-week low at $12.50, $10.50, and final levels around $9 and $8.75. Sorry I'm late, was watching a million adverts. Yeah, whatever, Clarky trading. I don't even think you get an advert on live streams, so I'm actually not too sure with that. Okay, the next stock anyway that we'll be looking at is Pmvp. Again, the next highest shorted stock, and this is currently shorted at 43% of its total float. So to get into this one then, Pmvp. Let's see where this one's going. So this one hasn't been anywhere near as volatile as Icpt. Which is probably not the best sign unless it gets picked up by something like Wall Street, but it's probably not going to move all that much. But if we can push towards that 52-week low, and you're looking for those buying opportunities, really $9.35, $6, and kind of $2.60 would kind of be those key targets that we're looking at buying. But in more reality, if we're looking for this stock to short squeeze, we're looking for the upper targets. And so what is going to be the key focus? So we're going to have like targets around 16.50, but also we have recently hit those. They're not all that strong targets to hit. So we would be looking for the break to around $19.50, $22, $23, and then final levels at $27, $26.50, and to $32.50. Now, if we did get a short squeeze on Pmvp, really we wouldn't look to hold past this $32 level. Well, in all reality, we wouldn't really look to hold past 27. But if you were holding long, really 32 would be that kind of final level that we would look to hold, because past here, there's a lot of chances that it could be halts and you get trapped in the bull trap and you get stuck on the downside. Dead Serious 2 adverts came up before I watched it. And that's mostly YouTube anyway. That's hardly a million adverts, which is actually a bit annoying because, yeah, they usually put up 2 now, and it used to just be one skippable ad. But either way, that's just the way of life. Now going on to the next one, we're going to be looking at Bed, Bath and Beyond, ticker BBY, and this is 40% shorted. And obviously this is one that has had a lot of talk about it. So seeing this isn't that crazy, but it has kind of done its main squeeze. Probably won't push up, I don't think, past that recent high that we've created. But if we do start pushing up, we do have targets at $18.50, $20, $24.50, $26, and then kind of final targets around $30 and $32. And again, the same thing. If you are holding Bed Bath and Beyond, you are looking to wait for that squeeze if there is another one to come, which may not be that likely. But if you are, really don't want to be holding past that $32 level, because again, that's where you tend to see the sharp declines. I mean, you saw it in this one. You came up to that third deviation. That's where we become very overbought on a technical basis. And that's when you saw it do a sharp halt and down. And so if you're holding that stock long, this is where people lose money. And so if you are looking to trade these stocks, yeah, really just be getting out when we become very overbought, at least on the standard deviation channels, because then the chances of you getting halted out of that trade into a negative is a lot less. And buy targets, again, if you're looking to buy up Bed Bath and Beyond as it falls, in anticipation of maybe another short squeeze or just a pump, then we do have statistical mean at around 730 and 785, but these aren't levels we tend to buy. This is just where we expect these stock to reverse to. So instead, if we're looking for buy targets, really, because statistical mean the statistical levels are so low at 150 and 182, we would be focusing more on kind of that 52-week low around 440, while also looking at the key psychological levels, meaning the $5, the $6, $4, $3, $2, and so on. So that's it for Bed Bath and Beyond. What's the next one we can focus on? And that will be Upstart Holdings, ticker UPST, and it has a short float interest of 37.5%. So if we go over to UPST, how is this stock looking? Again, not all that volatile compared to some of the other stocks we've been looking at. We do actually have some lines on here, so must mean we've done an analysis video on it, or just looked over it recently. But either way, we're currently sitting at $25, 52-week low at $22.50. But this stock has sold off so hard, I mean, from $400. And this would be one I would probably actually stay away from then, just on that news, because that probably means there are really bad fundamental issues if a stock's going to sell off that harsh. But if you are still looking for a squeeze on the stock and you want some targets, our closest target would be, or kind of key target would be this gap fill location around $78, because not only is it our gap fill, it's also our first deviation on the daily, so we would expect some heavy resistance. But even a push to 52, considering how this stock has acted in the past year, is still even quite push at it within itself. So seeing it get there may not be all that likely, but that would be kind of our first target. If we're able to squeeze past that though, $95, $140, $181, and $285 would be all our targets to the upside. And now if you're looking for buy targets to the downside in case you think this stock's going to squeeze and you want to know where's probably a good level to be getting into this stock. And really we only have two levels to really be focusing on, and that would be the 52-week low around $22.50 and our statistical mean around $10. So if you want more levels on this, you can be using really psychological levels. It's really the only other levels we can really give, and that would be looking at the $20, $17.50, $15, $12.50 and $10, and those would kind of be our key buy levels. Now going on to the next one, we can look at big lots, ticker big, and this again is around 37% shorted. So if we check out big, let's see how this is doing. This one bit more volatile than the last one, but again not all that crazy. Let me just open that up. Cool. Okay, that's all good. Yeah, so if we start pushing up, we're going to be looking at the first resistance around $26.50, with our next level going to around $30. If we're able to break that and continue up, we're looking at around $35, $40, $43, $50, and final two levels at $51.75 and $59. Now, these levels are a bit more realistic considering it's high, at least 52-week highs around $50, $52. So seeing it push back up to these levels is, I mean, there's probably a reason it sold off, but if it does start squeezing, these targets aren't all that extreme, and we could definitely see a push to those levels. Now, if you're looking to buy big lots, where would our targets be? And again, our closest levels to where we are now is going to be statistical mean around $21, and then our other statistical mean around $18.50. Then as well, we also be near that 52-week low, so quite a heavy support. But if we are able to break that and continue down further, statistical levels would be $11.25, $9.75, and $1.50. But because that is such a big gap between $18.50 and $11.50, you could be looking at psychological levels, meaning the $17.50, $15, and $12.50 as key support levels. Now, we'll go over a few more. We'll look at Beyond Meat, ticker BYND, and again, this is 35% shorted. And this was a stock, especially during COVID time, was a big mover. Definitely wasn't heavily shorted back then. I mean, if we just change this to a 3-year chart, in this stock, I remember trading this during kind of just during COVID. This was a big mover back then. Has definitely died off from what it once was. But I guess that's the past. What's the stock doing now if it's heavily shorted? Again, I haven't checked into the fundamentals of this company, but there is probably a reason for this sell-off. But we do have support levels at $20 and $11.25, and then even lower levels at $5. But obviously the $11 and $5 are very far off from where we are now. So what other support levels could we be focusing on? So obviously we're looking at that 52-week low. We do have two. Obviously we have the after hours and pre-market 52-week low around 1850, but we also have the intraday chart, meaning not including after hours, at around $20, which lines up with our statistical mean on the 4 hours, so will be a key support level. Now, if we start expecting a pump from here and we want targets to the upside, what are we looking at? So our closest level currently is $35, with the one after that being at $40.50, then $50, and then $65, pushing to $70, and final levels at $80 and $98. Now this one will be quite interesting to see how it plays out. Again, I never actually realised until checking out the short interest on these stocks that Beyond Meat really was hit this hard since COVID's kind of eased out. But so this would definitely be an interesting one to see how it reacts. And may even be one actually that I throw on my watch. And actually, as we say that, I am going to add it to my watch now. So if it can come down to these kind of levels, I'll check into it on a fundamental basis. Anything in this all category, stocks, large cap stocks, because that's the majority of stocks I trade now, but I at least know their fundamental standings and whether they're stocks to be, well, if they're strong stocks, because if I know they're strong stocks, they're gonna act more realistic. So that does mean I can short them, it does mean I can buy them, and a lot of people always find that quite crazy. Okay, you see the stock is fundamentally strong, why would you short it? And if it becomes very overbought, you expect investors to be locking in profits, you expect it to pull back if it's moving on a fundamental basis and not just hype. So Beyond Meat, definitely something I'll be checking out, but if it does pump out for the pump up, then the levels we've given would be targets to the upside. We'll go through a few more. We'll be looking at EVGO. I think that's EVGO. Not 100%. I think this was moving quite a few days ago. I think I remember seeing it on the watch list. But that is 34% shorted. So let's check out EVGO. And see what's happening. Yeah, so it did do quite a big movement recently, starting to steady out on this statistical mean around $9 and $9.50. So really right now we're kind of in a hesitation period. Really we'd be waiting for a break and break above 10.50, come back to test it as support, and if so, then we can expect a push to that next level at 11.50, then 12.15, 13.50 slash kind of 13.75, and then from there quite a big move to around 15.50 and a final level at 17.75. Now, if this stock does start squeezing, we push up to these higher up levels. Again, we wouldn't be looking to hold past this 17.70, even though in the past 52 weeks we have actually had or gone past that level. The only problem you have holding past this level is there is a high probability that you'll be caught in a halt to the downside, and that's why really once these stocks become very overbought, it's very risky to be holding them long unless you've got some sort of hedge going on, using buying puts or calls or however you want to hedge. But really, yeah, if you're breaking past at $18, you probably want to be out because there's a high probability that it will just close, or when it closes on one of the days, just have a big gap down the next day, and if you're long near that top, you're not going to be in a good position. Now going on to the next one then is HLBZ. This was definitely moving recently, because I remember even throwing up an analysis video on the channel. But yeah, this pumped from 45 cents all the way to 250. I mean, if we check that out, that is a massive move with it in itself of around 400%. So that could potentially be the short squeeze people were looking for. But if it isn't, and you expect it to continue up higher, again, we will have resistance at the 135. And then $2.75, $3, and then push up higher, 470, 640, and then final levels at 750, $12.20, and and kind of $17. And again, the same thing on HLBZ. If it's above $17, definitely not looking to hold long past that level, because there's a high probability that you'll get caught as it gaps down. But really, holding this past 650 would be very risky within itself. And so, yeah, really just be careful if you're trading HLBZ past those levels. If it does squeeze to those highs, definitely be having a hedge of some sorts if you're holding shares along at that point. Now we'll pull up the chart again and see what else we're looking at. So HRTX is Heron Therapeutics. Well, year to date down 88. Oh no, sorry, that was HLBZ, but down nearly 9% on the year, which is quite crazy. But HRTX also down around 60%, and 33% of its shares are shorted. So to put up this chart, what are we then looking at? So this has been moving actually quite strong recently. Does look like it's starting to pull back. If this pullback continues, we expect support around 205 to around 180. And this would also be if you were trying to catch HRTX long, so you can catch the potential short squeeze. These would be levels that we would be looking at. And again, obviously the 52-week low is always going to be a support level, so 220. And then if you want to look at levels below that, key psychological levels, meaning the 175, the 150, the $1.25, and the dollar. And again, if it breaks down even lower than that, 75 cents, 50 cents, all quite easy. Now, what are going to be resistance levels if we start pushing up? So quite close to where we are now, we do have resistance at $4.50 and $5. But as they were hit recently, they're not exactly extreme targets. So if we do see a short squeeze and we do push higher, we're going to be looking at $6.75, $8.25, $9, and then final levels pushing up to around $11.40 and $14.60. And again, the same thing. Really, if this stock breaks above $9, we're probably not looking to hold it long unless you're hedging of some sorts, because again, could easily get stuck in a gap down. Now we'll go over one last stock because it is quite late over here, nearly 1 AM, so I do kind of want to call it a day. But we will quickly check on for the last one, which is Groupon, ticker GRPN, and again this is 33% shorted and is down 56% year to date. So actually I've already forgotten the ticker, GRPN. So on GRPN, if we continue down and you're looking to buy, what levels are we looking at? So we do have the first statistical deviation at 680, then 430, $1.70, and they're going to be the key buy levels to the downside. And obviously the 52-week low you can always use around $8.75. Now if we start squeezing and you're looking for upside targets, what are we focusing on? Around 875 or 885 is first deviation in the 4 hour, and also the high, or the recent high, not kind of the 52-week high, but the recent high we have created. Then going high at $17, $20, $22, and then final levels at $25.25, $27, $30.50, and $32.25. And on this one, really past this 52-week low of around, 52-week high of around $31, we would be breaking above that third deviation on both the 4 hour and the daily. So holding past that level would be extremely risky. And again, unless you're hedged, definitely be locking in profits, because there is a high chance that you get caught in the gap down. Anyway, that is it for the stream today. Hope you enjoyed going through all the short interest stocks. If you want to check them out for yourself, again, you can just go to something like MarketWatch and it will show you, give you a screen of all the stocks and their float shorted. And this is all that really matters when you're looking for short squeeze potential, is float shorted as a percentage. Because if a stock has, say 100% of its stocks shorted, then as soon as that stock jumps maybe 10-20%, people are going to have to cover their shorts, and in hand they have to buy the shares, which in hand push the price up, and that will kick out more people shorting the stock. And again, that's really just how it works. So really, the higher the short float percentage, the higher chance we get the squeeze. And so these are going to be the most probable ones of having a short, of having a squeeze. One other way as well that you can increase your chances of finding a squeeze potential is finding one with short float, because then it means it's a lot easier to kind of push it up, because it's easier to buy more of the float percentage. But that is it for the stream today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, why not drop a like and subscribe, and we may have a pre-market stream tomorrow. If not, anyway, leave comments on any stocks you want analysed, and we will be analysing at least 5 stocks tomorrow. And that's it. Peace.